Hello and welcome back to the Little Craft House. Today we are going to be talking all about colour blends. So some of you may know them as Skinner blends, or maybe a rainbow blend or an ombre effect. It's where one colour will graduate through to another colour in your slab, and then from there you can use that to make your earrings or trinket dishes or whatever polymer clay creation you would like. So we're going to talk step by step through it today, and we're going to do a couple of different color variations. This technique is definitely suitable for beginners, so even if you're just starting out, it is a good one to play around with and experiment with. So you don't need any fancy tools other than maybe a pasta machine comes in really handy. But if you just have an acrylic roller, that is fine too. It's just a little bit of a slower process, but you'll get there. Let's get into it and let's start creating. So our first blend, we are just going to keep it really simple, and this is just going to show you the process, and then we're going to go through and do a few different versions. So yeah, let's start really simple. I've got two colors. Both of these colors are not packet colors. They are both colors that I've just had on my bench, probably mixed from some scraps, I would say. They would be Primo or Souffle base. They're quite sticky, so I'm going to have a guess that they're both from the Primo range. All right, what I'm going to do now, there is a few different ways that we can do these blends. So as we do different ones, we're going to do them with different techniques. But to start with, we're just going to make two of these sort of triangular shapes. I don't know if you call them triangle, doesn't matter that it's got a bit of a dent. This is what I meant about it's perfect for beginners. Don't worry about it being perfect because it's going to sort itself out as we go along. So we're going to want to put them next to each other here. Now it's starting off as being quite long, but by the end it's going to actually be quite wide because it's going to stretch out when we put it through our pasta machine. So we're going to start with it like this. Obviously that's too thick to go in the pasta machine. I'm going to start the process with my acrylic roller. And as I mentioned before, if you don't have a pasta machine, it's not an issue. You can just keep using your acrylic roller. So I'm just going to flatten it down a bit and then fold it in half. And so every time we fold, we want to bring it back up the same way, so the same colors are on top of each other. We don't want to fold it sideways like that because it's going to mix the colors differently, not how we want it for today. So we're just going to keep going up every time when we fold it in half. Now at this stage we don't have to worry about using things like our guides or anything to keep a consistent leveling because it's just about bonding these colours together at the moment. Alright, so I've rolled this one thin enough now that it can go through the pasta machine. As I say, if you want to continue with your acrylic roller, do so, but we're going to move to the pasta machine because it's going to make it a lot quicker and I suppose a lot easier. Okay, so the machine is set on its thickest setting at the moment. And as I mentioned before, as we roll the clay through, it's going to start stretching out. So it's actually going to become quite a wide piece. That's not an issue today. Obviously, when it is two colour blends, we're going to end up with three colours in the end. So we're going to end up with the purple, the turquoise, and then in the middle, we're going to have a strip of that blended color. So I don't mind that it's going to be long. It obviously depends on what you're using your blend for. Some people like to block off part of their machine, and you can do that by either using, we've got one handy, you could try using a block of clay. That sometimes works. I have made myself a little it's just out of scrap clay. This is a little bit of a blocker, so I can put it in there. It does it kind of jumps around. I probably need to make it a little bit bigger so it sits up a bit higher. But yeah, it has a bit of, can you see how it's got that point? Goes between the rollers there. That can kind of help it to stop stretching out as well. But yeah, as you work through doing blends, you kind of work out how you want it to go. If you get annoyed with it continually stretching, you'll find a way to block the ends so that then it can only stretch as far up until that blocker. Anyway, let's get on with this one. So it is set on the thickest setting, and I'm just going to keep passing it through every time, folding it in half so that the line kind of, because as you can see it's not even, but I'm going to try and keep that line in the middle. And always with the fold down. Sometimes it takes a while to be able to see the blend, and sometimes you feel like it's just not happening. What's going on? We will get there though. Just keep going. As you can see, it is getting longer, but it's not getting very wide because it is stretching out longer. But afterwards we can put it through on a thinner setting, which will help to stretch that back out again. But at the moment, we're just going to continue like this. Oh, didn't fold it in half. So it's quite long now, but you can see that gradient change happening in the middle there. What I am going to do is bring it down slightly in size so then I can pop it through and stretch it back out again. Makes it a little bit longer again. And another thing you can do too, if it starts to get a bit wibbly wobbly like that, you can fold this side in, almost up to the gradient, this side in, up to the gradient. And then continue again. Okay, so whilst I pop this through a few more times, I thought we would do a quick did you know? So did you know that it is quite commonly referred to as a Skinner blend, as it was named after a lady called Judith Skinner, and she was the first person to introduce this technique into the polymer clay world. Alright, so I think I'm pretty happy with that. So you can see how the colour has blended across, and you've got that different coloured purple in the middle with those other colours on either side. So that is the first of our ombre effect that we're going to be doing. Let's do it again, but now slightly different. Okay, so our next blend we're going to do it with sort of primary colours. So I don't have the cadmium colours handy. What I do have is Primo Pomegranate, I have Souffle Yellow Ochre, and I have Primo Turquoise. Now, when I pulled the turquoise out, I realised this was the colour I used before. I thought it was just a scrap mix, but it was actually the turquoise colour. The purple was a mix from the other one. Right, so what I'm doing is getting each one of these conditioned, and then I'm going to pop them along next to each other. And I'm going to do it this time with the three colours, but the blue's going to be repeated. Right, so rather than doing the little triangular shapes this time, I'm just going to do them as the long shapes. Now, I know the reason that people say to do the triangles, it holds together nicer. Sometimes it's just easier to do it as the long shapes like this, and as you start rolling it, as long as they squish out and start holding together, then we're all good. Remember, it doesn't have to be perfect because as it goes through the machine, it's going to continue to change anyway. Right, so I'm going to take this paste now and start popping it through the machine. I'm going to do it lots of times. I might just do it in time lapse because I understand that will be boring to keep seeing. And yeah, I'm not going to do it as many times as I did with the last one, just so that we can start seeing the blend. And just note that it is back on its thickest setting again. And when we fold it up so that our colours match again. So blue to blue, red to red, yellow to yellow, blue to blue. Alrighty, and I'm going to stop it there because you can see that the blend has already started doing its thing. Actually, you know what? I might pop it through one more time just because of that line there. Okay, so there is our beautiful rainbow blend using the primary colours. So the line here ended up being a little bit harsher than what I would have thought, but I ran it through an extra couple of times and it's still like that. But that's okay because it would depend on what I'm using it for anyway. But I'm happy with that one. We're going to pop this aside and we've got one more blend to do. And every time I do this next blend, it always excites me. So let's get doing that one. Right, so when I say this is my favourite one, I haven't done it with this mix of colours before, so this is just a little bit of an experimentation. They already have a bit of a pastel tone to them and they aren't primary, so I'm not 100% sure how they're going to mix, but let's play and find out. So I'm just going to do it the same way we just did that last one, just condition them up. They're already conditioned. Just going to squeeze them in next to each other. And then give them a little roly. What I might do is pop this through the pasta machine on, not the thickest, down a couple of settings from the thickest. I'm going to pop it through maybe twice so that it starts a blend happening, and then we'll do the next step. Oh, that didn't work out very well. Need to add a bit more of that buttery one. So it's just joined together enough that it's joined together. What I'm now going to do is get some Cernet Metallic Pearl. I haven't actually used the Cernet one before. I usually use Primo. So we shall see how this one goes. So I'm going to cut a piece of this pearl off and I'm going to roll it out so that it's around the same size as this piece here. I'm just going to use my acrylic roller to do that. Right, so this one's actually quite sticky and fresh. Not quite the same size, but that's okay. I'm going to layer them now on top of each other, and we're going to start passing it through the machine. And what is going to happen is they aren't just going to blend with each other, but the pearl should start to show through as well and give it all a pearlized effect. So fingers crossed that's what happens. That's what I've done previously and it's worked. So let's just try it this time. Hopefully it'll work again. And as I mentioned before, I had dropped the sizing down so that each one of these is thinner. I've moved it back up to the thickest setting now so that it's not going to squish it out too much. So this time I'm doing it with the metallic pearlized effect, but you could also do this with the granite effect or even glitter effect. Glitter is fantastic when it comes to Christmas. That's one of my favourite techniques to do. Right, and I think that is done. Okay, so as you can see, it has gained that pearlized look to all the colours. When I've done this previously with the Primo Pearl, it has been a lot more of a defined pearlized look, if that makes sense. More obvious with the Primo one, but it still looks really beautiful. And I think if I was to make jewellery out of this and cover it in resin, it would actually enhance that pearl look as well. So anyway, this is one of my favorite ones with that pearly look. So this brings us to the end of our tutorial today. I just wanted to lay these out so you could see the 3 different ones we've done. And I just thought before I finish as well, I would just quickly give a couple of examples of things that I've made using these blends. So obviously I like to do earrings a lot and jewelry, so you'll find the tutorial for these snakes last week. Yeah, so they were using one of the blends. I've also done a tutorial before making these ones, and I've also previously done a lot of little trinket dishes as well. They work great with that the blended colors. Oh, and almost forgot these ones. These are my favorite pair that I wear all the time with the flowers. So there's a couple of little ideas you can do with those beautiful rainbow blends. Of course, there is so many more other things. Tutorials for those other little items I just showed you are, you can find them on my channel. And yeah, I'm sure you can think of lots of other things that you can do with these blends as well. So thank you for joining me today. Hope that you have enjoyed it, and hopefully this has inspired you to get blending and make your own colour blends. Thanks guys, and I shall see you again next time. Bye!